Hello there, my name is Mark, aka The Canardian, and this is level 37. Geez, going back to my Warp Whistle video game days. This is episode 37 of the Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my favorite co-pilot in all the galaxy, Charlie Carden. Charlie!
I'm flying the bus. Oh, it's going good, man. Sunday night we worked a Comic-Con. I was wearing my other hat, my Star Trek hat, because as you know, the wife and I run the Michigan chapter of the International Star Trek Fan Club. So we were at the show about 30 minutes from here, and it's just always great to see people and talk to people about the club and everything. So yeah, it was a good time. But now it's later on Sunday night, and I'm so I'm glad I'm talking about Star Trek or Star Wars. Oh God, Star Wars, just to keep it going.
If that's the only time the Star Trek, Star Wars thing happens in this episode, I'll be very surprised after you spent a whole weekend engaged.
Well, you should be surprised.
Yes, for sure.
Very surprised.
For sure. Well, we are also joined by a very special guest. Someone I'm a very big fan of. If you've listened to this show for any time, we've had a couple of her co-hosts on, and it's about time we had M, aka the Hut Slayer from Pink Milk. How you doing tonight?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing so well. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for sharing your space with me.
Thank you for being here.
Almost say, as opposed to being a very special guest for the topic of the show, she's perhaps a very special ghost. What do you think?
Puns. It's like I'm doing a show with Brian. All the puns.
You're going to feel right at home.
Mark has also been known to throw in a pun or two. Shout out to Mark.
It's a Mark thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I think Mark is the only person I haven't had from Pink Milk. So Mark, I'm coming for you. You're on the list.
That's right.
Let's talk. We'll go set something up. So I'm very excited to have you here. What is new in the Pink Milk world? You want to give us a little update for anyone that might not be fully caught up on Pink Milk? What are you guys up to?
Yeah, a bunch of cool stuff. So, obviously, we're very proud to be part of the Amidala Initiative, fundraiser for Equality Texas. Very important. Please go to Twitter. Amidala Helps is the Amidala Helps. Please go and click every link. Take a look at all of the cool stuff that's going on. We have people who are designing special merch in their online shops. Chase did a charity web stream on Saturday.
I was just going to say, he just raised a bunch of money.
Yeah.
He just raised a bunch of money. Sorry.
I'm
sorry.
Oh, no, both are okay. But yeah, so yeah, there's so many things that are happening. I mean, Ben is the powerhouse behind all of it. Ben is the worst. BYN is the worst on Twitter. Such a great fan. Like, great person to be in community with. And yeah, this is such a worthy cause. So I really encourage everyone to go out there and support Amidala Initiative however you can, for as long as the fundraiser is running.
Absolutely. I will include those links in the show notes as well, so it'll be easy to find if you're listening and you're like, oh, what just happened? Don't worry. Check the notes. Pause the show. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to get everything all at once as we're saying it. It will be there. Well, that's awesome. You guys do some great stuff, some amazing awareness. You're like such an amazing show with Pink Milk. I love the realness that comes when you all talk about it. It's so weird in a way that it's like my favorite Star Wars show, but it's so much more than that. It's like there's other shows that I listen to, whether it's video games, Star Wars, or whatever, that it's like loosely based around that topic of like everything kind of, you can tie in Star Wars and you'll talk about things, but it is so much more than that. And it becomes so real and so important. And I just very much appreciate everything that Pink Milk does for just everyone. And Brian always talks about how he's surprised when like hetero cis guys are like, dude, I love your show. And I'm one of those. And I listen every week to both shows. And I'm like, I love it. I'm like sitting in my car and like have to pull over and just like breathe for a second because the stories get so real. But then I'm also like, Also, hey, Rebels is cool. Like it's just you just change it so easy. So I very much appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. Well, we always say like our brand is authenticity. Like oftentimes we'll have discussions behind the scenes with questions about like where the show is going or choices that we've made about content. And the thing that we always come back to is just that we're just trying to be authentic because that's what people respond to. Like we want to have an audience that is engaged and that gets something out of listening to the show and maybe is able to even make some realizations about themselves or go on a personal journey. And like when people do that, that's such a huge gift to us. So we just want more of that. So, that's really our goal with Pink Milk, and Brian has been very open about how important the stories of Star Wars have been to him emotionally, and I've talked about that too, and Mark and Chase, it's an important part of their lives as well. And so, yeah, I think it just comes through that we're very authentic and that these stories are capable of really touching your heart and also being a sort of a guide that you can use to enter into a new understanding of yourself or your life or what it means to be human, big philosophical questions. Mm-hmm. I think that's very true about Star Wars. So I think it lends itself really well to, having an interchange of talking about, the stories, the characters, things that might seem superficial, but also about how they reflect and speak to like our inner journeys as human beings.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
I have to say, I love when you come up with your writer's perspective on things. Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, pew pew space battle, or I'm like, blammo, that's kaboom. Cool because it's cool. And you come up with like the most philosophically deep stuff that's like the meaning behind the meaning behind the meaning of this thing. Is it? And every single everyone has to like they hate following you up a lot of the times because they're like, what can I add? And I'm sitting there again, like I'm like just like, wow, holy crap, like you are on another level with your understanding and interpretation of a lot of this stuff. So I can't wait to dive down into Return of the Jedi with you a little bit later. But first, I want to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah,
especially for anyone that hasn't listened to Pink Milk, that might not know you as much. Let's get to know you and let's get to know your Star Wars story. So first off, the big question, how did you get into Star Wars?
Yeah, so I got into Star Wars as a little child. I was a kindergartner and my babysitter had a VHS copy of Return of the Jedi and would put it on to entertain me. So I watched...
You saw?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like it was a good introduction to the Star Wars movies because I think if I had been like a 5 or 6 year old trying to watch A New Hope, I probably would have found it boring. Like a lot of talking in white hallways, not very interesting. Whereas Return of the Jedi, it kicks off with action, mystery, intrigue, adventure, stakes. And so it was a good. I felt like it really grabbed my attention as a child,
Right.
And so as soon as my mom realized that I really loved this movie, she encouraged me to have an interest in Star Wars and to have toys and all of that stuff and watch the other movies because expand on the stories of these characters. Because she was an outspoken feminist and she loved that there was a strong female character who wasn't overly sexualized. So,
nice, totally awesome.
it really, and also, of course, she was aware of Carrie Fisher's other work and she loved Carrie Fisher, as a writer and as a person. So, I mean, how could you not? So, yeah, it was just, there was this whole atmosphere of sort of approval around me being into Star Wars that really helped give me access, to the toys and the movies and stuff as I was growing up. So
that's awesome. Did you have any toys? What toys stood out to you?
I loved I had the little action figure of Leia in the Ewok village dress and the little wicket. Awesome. And I used to put them in my mom's potted plants and pretend that they were on Endor. With all the foliage around.
I know we had something like that, and I would do it in my grandparents' house when I was growing up. It was very 70s. They had one of those like full length walls with the fake plants, like floor to ceiling with mirrored background, and it was Dagobah all the live long day. And I know later on, my uncle had like a terrarium that I think he put Yoda in himself as an adult. Cool. So it's like, there's always Dagobah. Yeah, there's a lot of Dagobah vibes in my past, so I kind of dig on that.
That's very cool.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, wow, Jedi, the first movie. I think that's the first time we've heard of Return of the Jedi being the first movie.
For sure.
Is that still your favorite, or is another movie surpassed that?
It is still my favorite. Okay. Awesome. It is, yes.
Good guess to have then.
No doubt.
For sure. And not that we'd hold it against you if you had another favorite movie, that's fine, that's good. But good stuff. I'm feeling this is my favorite movie as well. So I'm feeling good about tonight's.
I hope I'm going to be able to. Now I feel like the third wheel, so now I'm going to have to try to keep up. I've got the Jedi super lover, but I'll see. Hopefully, I can bring something to the table. We'll see what turns out.
I've got my finger hanging above the hang up button on your neck. So one step at a no, I'm just joking, Charlie. I love you, but I'm not going to kick you off if I haven't already.
I mean, I can't believe we survived after the last two episodes having Mia on, and I saw her today. She was at the show with us doing a thing on her own and talking about our episode and bringing up how we had some not great things to say about the prequels and the fact that we haven't just been burned to the ground by all of our, prequel loving co-hosts and obviously audience. So I guess there's room for everything.
That's on you guys. I like the prequels. That's where I started in Lego Star Wars. They're not my favorite, but I do like the prequels.
I also love the prequels.
There are moments.
I actually love all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
even the movie that I would put at the very, 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 very bottom, I still find things to love about it.
In particularly 100%. Playing Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga right now, even that rekindles the love in films that I'm like even Episode 1 or maybe, the Rise of Skywalker where it's kind of like, but it's like, playing that Lego makes it new again. And, maybe this is a better plot development if everything just burst with studs when you shot it. Why? I mean, I'm down with it. Or all the lightsabers became baguettes, which is one of the extras that you get to add on as you go.
Yeah. I for me it was between that or the Porg companion. I chose the Porg companion.
Right, yes.
Ooh.
And
her name is right there, yeah.
Her name is Porg Trisha.
Oh.
But the problem with her is that she's very feisty. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, when I was on Tatooine with the stormtroopers that are just in the landing bay, we were just walking past them, and if you try to just walk past them, they won't aggro you. They won't. Mm-hmm. But she went and kicked one in the face. And so it immediately started a fight that I didn't want to have.
What? I didn't know. I got to keep an eye out for that. Damn.
Yeah, so if you do use the Porg and you're trying to go stealth, don't. Right. Because it won't work.
Go!
I never try to go stealth. I'm just that suits me. If the Porg wants to pick a fight, I'm ready.
Don't unporg it. But anyway,
with your love of Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, I don't know if you even have to ask your favorite character, but I'm going to just in case it's someone different.
She's up there. Honestly, I would have to pick a different character for each trilogy.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So we do have Princess Leia is probably in the original trilogy is my favorite character. In the prequels, my favorite character is Anakin, and in the sequel trilogy, my favorite character is Rey.
Excellent. All right,
very good.
And here's my Princess Leia tattoo.
Wow.
Ooh.
It says Hut Slayer underneath it.
Ooh, nice. I rock and
roll. Great place for a Star Wars tattoo, I do have to say.
Well, this is actually covering up a much worse tattoo. I don't often talk about that, but this is a cover up.
We won't push on it.
Please don't.
I've been on a mad Star Wars tattoo design run lately, and I don't know if I'll get them all, but I keep coming up with different concepts for Star Wars tattoos, and I'm like, I need to rob a bank and get
with all those tattoos. They catch you in a minute.
Yeah,
it's true. Very distinctive.
So yeah. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. Based on your favorite movies, characters, everything, I think I might know the answer to this, but I have to ask: light side or dark side? If you had some force powers.
Oh, dark side, 100%.
Oh wow. Man, just like Todd, right to it. Right to it.
No hesitation, and this completely surprised me. What? Hold on. Okay.
Yes.
What?
Like my love of Star Wars is and the universe is complex. Okay, so let's. Yeah. Oh well. Here's the thing: is that I find it fascinating that you could have this connection to the universe, like this connection to the life force of everything that exists, and also be able to plug into like the dark side of that. Because like even in our culture, like we see people who are attuned to the sacred energy of life as inherently benevolent. And for us, like when we think about people who are spiritual or who are like on a spiritual path, it's usually seen as something that is inherently good or that is going to contribute to, inherently wanting to do good. And I find it really fascinating, the thought of people who can be attuned to that energy, that life energy, and not choose goodness. That speaks to like the complexity of humanity for me.
For sure.
So I do have to follow up on that one with a curiosity, because we've seen what the dark side can do to that connection. And my initial thought was severing enough of the connection so the dark side people, aside from, you could arguably say Anakin coming back, but when he came back, he was coming back to the light, and then he died and he was able to be a Force ghost. But aside from that one tiny weird little caveat, we have not seen a dark side user be able to tap into that life force energy and come back as a Force ghost like someone on the light side. So does
like be a part of the living force after becoming part of the cosmic force?
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So
but here's the thing, is that we don't know the whole story either. Because, right. The lesson that Luke teaches Rey seems to imply that the dark side is a natural part of the world, and that it will always exist, and it's impossible to eradicate it. Mm-hmm. And that ideally one is not to live in the dark or the light, but to seek balance. Balance comes up over and over and over again in the story, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't see the dark side as like inherently I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's misunderstood. I don't know, because even on Mortis, the brother had to exist alongside with the sister. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like we haven't truly seen balance in Star Wars. Like, we haven't seen that story yet. But just because we haven't seen that story doesn't mean the possibility doesn't exist. And also, just the the force, the existence of force users is more complex than what we have seen. Like, it's becoming more and more obvious as we get more stories in this universe that Jedi and Force adept are not the same thing. And that Jedi is just one path of how to handle, because what we've learned through these stories is basically that, it's like, how do you solve the problem of, you have this one group of people who are much more powerful than everyone else around them, and that power is potentially destructive. So how do you handle that? How do you handle, and inspire people to use that power responsibly? Well, the Jedi path is a philosophy that if you follow it, you are using your power in a way that is responsible and that is constructive and not destructive, right? Mm-hmm. But you could argue that there are other paths, and other philosophies on how to use that power. Night Sisters are a good example. They don't even use Kyber to focus the Force. They use Ichor, so it's like, that's just one example of, a Force user who is capable of tapping into this power in a way that hasn't really been examined in the Skywalker saga. You know, so there's more out there. There's more to explore, I would say.
Yeah. And even, I mean, going back just to the Jedi, if we look at specifically just that, like they became, I'm just going to straight out say they became pretty radicalized, because if you look at the High Republic stuff, like it was very much encouraged to explore the Force. Like, yes, you could still be considered a Jedi, but like exploring that, it was more, you know, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual kind of thing. Like it was that kind of like go on your own path, explore your way, like tune into the Force how you want. And you saw a lot more variation on like the interpretations of the Force, of the light side, of this, of that. And to me, it got so radicalized, whatever, like, you know, starting in the prequel trilogy, you saw this kind of like very serious, and then afterwards, like it was, you know, you're down to like a handful of Jedi left, so like what are you gonna do? But like even in that, like they were so full of themselves, they're so like just a bastardized version of what they were. So yeah, I always say I want to see more exploration of like Force powers in general, not maybe necessarily Sith, Jedi, whatever, but all right.
And you know, I mean, this is probably going to get people to write angry letters, but I would posit that, you know, the story of the Star Wars films is, or especially the prequels, that it's a blueprint for how democracy becomes corrupted. And I would say that High Republic to prequels to original trilogy is a blueprint for how religion gets corrupted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I was kind of trying to say that without saying it. So
it's fine. You know what? I'm the brave one, and listen. I can't get. I'm uncancelable. Okay, like I'm a Raylo on Twitter, so like you cannot cancel me. I'm like a cockroach. You'll need a nuke. You'll need a nuke, and even then, I'll probably survive. So
still, that's good. I like that. So okay, I am utterly confused with what your answer is going to be for this next one. So I'm not even going to try to guess.
I live to defy expectations.
What is your lightsaber color of choice?
Pink.
Fuck. How about if I fucking tried? I was like, okay.
I'm actually super disappointed. So for Star Wars Celebration, Brian and Chase and I all have appointments to go build lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge. Awesome. And I'm so bummed that I cannot have a crystal that will give me a pink lightsaber.
That is correct.
Dream the impossible dream.
I'm gonna get blue.
Okay, good call. I will say that if anyone's looking for a lightsaber, not just you specifically, but I do have an affiliate link with Level Up Lightsaber, and all of their lightsabers can cycle through a rainbow of colors. Yay. And pink is one of the options. I was rocking a pink lightsaber the other day, chasing my son around. He was rocking a red saber, so I just cycled through and stopped at pink and was like, "All right, you're getting it."
When I built Cal's lightsaber in Fallen Order, it was pink.
Perfect. Yeah, I was hoping orange would be the default there, but it seems like they're going with blue based on the Galaxy's Edge replica saber, and that's. I understand that because it was blue in the cutscenes for the past, but I kind of hoped that orange would be the new default once he went and got his new Kyber crystal, just because orange was like that special pre-order color. So I kind of wanted like a variation of something. So I'd love to see like pink, orange, something like let's break loose and do something different. That is, I had no idea where you're going with most of those answers. So thank you for the roller coaster ride. Wow. Let's jump into some news.
Due to all that exposition, we may have to go a little quickly through the news, or we could be. I definitely want to sink into Jedi, so we don't want to run.
Absolutely. Let's make this quick. First off, Amy Hennig's studio is making a Star Wars game. This was just announced last week. Skydance New Media is the name of the studio. And they are going to be making a AAA Star Wars game with Lucasfilm Games. It's going to be narrative-driven action-adventure, and I'm very excited. Amy Hennig is a big Star Wars fan. She tried, I think, to make a Star Wars game years ago that got shut down. So her quote, I've often described how seeing Star Wars in 1977 essentially rewired my 12-year-old brain, shaping my creative life and future indelibly. We've seen some shit. I don't have to tell you, Em, that the Star Wars gaming space has gone through a bit of the ringer with, let's not even mention the studio that somehow is still making an inexplicable Star Wars game.
Oh boy.
Don't want to give them any more airtime.
One thing I will always say, I think it's a great quote, and even being somebody who's not really a gamer, is to think about how we are living in this great era. Jon Favreau is a great example, where we have people who are part of this culture that we all love, that are shaping the stories that are being written. You know, I think of Favreau first, obviously, with Iron Man and the MCU that followed, but certainly his work with The Mandalorian and people like Filoni. You know, this is truly the time where, you know, the banner has been, you know, the baton has been passed to a generation of people who are just like us, who are some pretty damn skilled storytellers. You know, as they get rained down upon fire by some for it. You know, what kind of, like, you know, in Office Space with Michael Bolton, I celebrate his entire catalog. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a spectacular thing to watch.
It is. So I'm, as someone who, like, so if you don't know Amy Hennig, she previously worked on the Uncharted series with Naughty Dog, which, Charlie, if you haven't watched any of the Uncharted stuff, I don't know if you saw the new movie either with Tom Holland.
Oh, yeah. No, that I did see. Yeah, very enjoyable.
Basically just Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, we want to make an Indiana Jones game. We can't get the license. Let's make up this character and throw him into some shit. Some of my absolute favorite games on PlayStation. So hearing that she's doing a narrative-driven action-adventure Star Wars game is like 2 thumbs up. Quantic who? Let's move on. Em, how did you feel about this announcement?
Oh, amazing. I mean, more Star Wars games, please, from places that are not homophobic, please. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, I mean, and I've just
it.
heard bits and pieces, but yeah, like you said, no more airtime about that nonsense.
Yep. I haven't played Uncharted, actually. It's not really my, like, it's not a genre that I would really like, that would be my first choice. It's just not my thing. I like other things. I mean, like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, like that's more my style. Assassin's Creed, I am an Assassin's Creed fiend. Oh, yeah. But you know, I mean, so like, I mean, I'm familiar with like the style of gameplay. It's just, but yeah, so this is very exciting to me, and yeah, I love like Amy Hennig has a great reputation, just like for story, and I'm always here for a good story. Like that's the most important thing to me. So
very quickly, Charlie, what kind of game, like what, if you could pick a faction or a setting or something, what game would you want her to make, keeping in mind, again, narrative, story, action, adventure kind of game?
I want to, and this has been echoed by our partner Extra as well, I want to see something that happens after The Rise of Skywalker. I want to see things move forward, not move backwards. Not that moving all the way back and touching a KOTOR kind of or High Republic timeline wouldn't be something exciting, but break new ground and take a step beyond. You know, make it Battlefront 3 and pick up those threads that ended that game. That could certainly be an interesting possibility. So yeah, awesome.
Same question.
We will know.
Oh, I already have my idea for a Star Wars video game, and it is that it's told from first person perspective, and you are born in like a lower level of Coruscant, like you're like a street rat, you're like nobody and nothing, and you start fighting your way up towards gaining more influence and becoming stronger. And there's like the first third of the game is just you like fighting your way up from being like a street urchin to like basically like leading like a street gang and like, you know, doing the whole sort of organized crime type, like, you know, influence gathering. And then once you get off planet, you start encountering these really powerful creatures and you fight them, and you realize that you can steal their force powers when you defeat them in battle. So you start gaining this collection of like cool things that you can do with the force, like it's a very typical video game mechanic, right, of like gathering skills as you go. And then at the end of the game you find out that you're Ren.
Ooh,
fascinating.
Shit, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool. I had a very different approach to this game. I was kind of hoping just Uncharted in space, to be honest. Bounty hunter, explorer kind of thing. Similar to Charlie, I actually do kind of want it post everything we've seen so far and have someone that's basically just out trying to collect, whether you're doing this for Rey or for someone else. But I think it would be kind of cool that Rey sends you on these missions. So kind of crossing paths.
What would be
trying to collect Sith and Jedi artifacts and
stuff. What would be so cool would be if if you were doing this for Rey, who's building a new Jedi order or whatever, and the archivist is Cal.
Oh,
because he would be like in his 70s, right? In his like 70s. So so he'd be like old. He'd be like old Cal.
Oh man. Yep, 100%. Yep. You just completed that whole thought for me. Thank you. That's a good collaboration. I like where that went. All right. So the next bit of news, Obi-Wan Kenobi is getting his own theme song thanks to the legendary John Williams coming back, joining the series composer Natalie Holt to create a theme song for Obi-Wan Kenobi. When he got word, apparently, John Williams got word that they were making an Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, he approached Kathleen Kennedy and said, now this is according to Holt, not a quote from John Williams, but come on, this is the cutest effing thing I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. I just want to write Benny a theme song.
Oh my goodness. Benny.
Come on.
I love it.
Come on.
It's adorable.
What?
It's so
That's
cute.
The cutest friggin' thing I've ever heard. What? I have nothing else to add to that story. I just wanted to say Benny. What do you guys think of that?
Oh my goodness. Well, the man never writes a bad note. You know what I mean? So the fact that this was obviously, I would say, probably intensely personal to him. He was the one who put his foot in the clay. It really made his bones around. Obviously, he did music in Jaws, which preceded Star Wars, but all of the themes that you hear, even just in the first movie, which would be particularly relevant to, seeing Obi-Wan for the first time, are iconic globally over the last 40 plus years. So no matter what he is going to click down with this, it's going to be something that you will find unforgettable. So I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all here for it. Like I cannot wait to like load that up on Spotify and just listen to it from beginning to end with my eyes closed. Like it's going to be amazing and so moving. Like the understanding that John has for these characters, like he's lived with them for so long, and even like his work on the sequel trilogy, and just it just shows how at home he is in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah. And
the way he's also like put clever little Easter eggs in songs for us, and like done these little like sort of, as Wagner called them, like leitmotifs, in the songs, and like I'm so ready for it. I'm really excited to hear it.
He's an absolute master, and I can't wait to hear what he comes up with for this. It's going to be great. Okay, with the news over, Charlie, you wanted to jump into Jedi, so let's do it.
It goes. Oh no, I didn't. Oh God, thank you for posting my my Wikipedia. Is this the Wikipedia link? Oh,
of course yes, of course.
You're not going to sell me short on being able to read my opening crawl with such drama. Luke Skywalker has returned to his home planet of Tatooine in an attempt to rescue his friend Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little does Luke know that the Galactic Empire has secretly begun construction of a new armored space station, even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. When completed, this ultimate weapon will spell certain doom for a small band of rebels struggling to restore freedom to the galaxy. ... No fourth dot. Oh,
no fourth dot. Oh,
I honestly don't know how to feel about the if you didn't know, our esteemed guest, each one of these crawls that I've gotten to read for our last 2 episodes did have the grammatically incorrect 4-dot ellipsis. So this is either a misprint or there could be some vile meaning within this that is yet to be discovered. I don't know. I don't know if I want to know. I'm kind of scared. Anyway,
I'll have to rewatch the opening crawl and to figure that out.
To see if
that's some hardcore researching we're doing here on Holocron Chronicles.
It's got to have it. And fitting with the first quote in here, the Emperor is not as forgiving as I. So if I find that somebody is screwed up in typing this, I will rain down that Sith lightning on this page. I'm just kidding. I will do nothing of the sort.
Listen, don't ruin Wikipedia following me on Twitter. I swear I will come at you with every color lightsaber I have.
Oh my gosh. It's the pinks and the blues you have to be that scared of, I guess.
So I think anyone listening to this is probably going to be familiar with that. So we went over the opening crawl. Let's talk about some of our favorite story points and favorite stuff in Return of the Jedi, aka Revenge of the Jedi.
Ooh, yes.
Almost. I love that they changed it so last minute that there were posters printed for this.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. And that the subsequent third film of the prequel trilogy is Revenge of the Sith. So they thought, the Jedi might not do Revenge, but the Sith, oh fuck yes, they, all the live long day. It's their middle name. It's Austin. Austin Danger Powers Revenge of the Sith. Just watch out.
Absolutely.
I dug the first act with it felt like an episode of It's Always Sunny retroactively. The gang breaks Han out of Jabba's palace. The whole wacky first we're gonna send in the droids and gift him the droids. Then we're gonna send in Leia in disguise and gift him Chewbacca. Or do this weird bounty, thing where she threatens him so that she gets to hang around at his scuzzbag menagerie. Then we'll get Han out and that'll be good. And then when that fucking goes tits up, then Luke will come in and he's gonna go and swinging his dick. Oh, well, you're not messing with me, dude. And get down to the Rancor pit and he's gonna find his way out of that. And then we're gonna get out on the skiffs. But I really knew this was gonna happen the whole time, which is why R2 is loaded with my lightsaber, and he's gonna make it up on deck at the exact right moment and shoot it in the air at the exact right moment that I can jump up and catch it. And Lando's there driving, and it's just like, was this like, how later in the film we see they're on Home One with the big projector screen and they're showing the Death Star? Did they sit around this and each of them was on a keypad and it was like storyboarding for a movie? Boop, 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 boop. No idea. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, and then they're like, it's fighting kind of like the Dejaric chess game in the Millennium Falcon. It's like, how do they come up with this shit? And then again, it's just like, and it all worked out. Yay! And they do like the 80s jump where it's like, yeah. Yeah. That was the end of the first act of this film, because it was just all so dramatically implausible that any of that shit would come together the way that it did. But hey, it's movie magic at Star Wars. Leia in a gold bikini. Thank you very much. To the end of my childhood when I was 7.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So the opening scene for this movie, I have said this before, is like my favorite thing in Star Wars. Especially, okay, for me, Star Wars can boil right down to Luke dressed in black, flipping through the desert with his green lightsaber. If I think of Star Wars, that's the first image that pops into my head. And that's it. It doesn't matter if it was implausible. It doesn't matter if it was like, this does not make any sense. It doesn't matter that his lightsaber was green because it didn't show up against the blue sky as a blue lightsaber. Doesn't matter. When someone says Star Wars, that's what comes into my head. And that's what made 10-year-old Mark make this his favorite movie. And my brain hasn't evolved too much since then. So, fill us in on your favorite bits of this. This is your favorite movie, your favorite Star Wars movie. Let's why maybe
so many things, so many things. Like, yeah, like Luke. I mean, well, okay, Leia rescuing Han, like A++, love it. Princess does the rescuing. I'm here for it all day, every day. And then, of course, her second badass moment of choking Jabba out with the chain is such a great, like, expression of the whole theme of breaking oppression. It's like, yeah, okay, if someone's going to put a chain around your neck, well, you're going to choke them out with it. That's what happens. You know, F around and find out. That's what,
and absolutely not in a sexy way, because what is Jabba?
You know, and I love the ambiguity of Luke at the beginning. Like, you know, you see him, he shows up all in black, he's being all mysterious and cool, and like the last time you saw him, he was like this little wavering twink, you know? And so it kind of puts this idea in your mind of like, okay, well, like, what has happened? Like, has he turned to the dark side? Like, what's going on? Especially since, you know, the previous film brought the revelation that Darth Vader was his father, which means he has that inside of him. You know, it's like this fulfillment of the promise of, you know, his parentage, which is just so interesting to me. And it creates this great narrative tension. And what else do I love about this movie? So many things. You know, Luke saying goodbye to Yoda. Like, it was so emotional for me to watch as a kid, and it still hits like so hard. You know, the fact that we see the fulfillment of Han's character arc, you know, in A New Hope, he's out for himself. All he cares about is money. Leia tells him that, you know, it's obvious.
Yep.
And by the end of Return of the Jedi, if Leia wanted to be with Luke and he wasn't her brother, he says he's willing to step aside. It's like, you know, he's found this beautiful woman who could be the love of his life and his partner and his equal, and he finally cares about something other than his own gratification. So it's like the end of his arc, you know, like he's become this fully realized human being who cares about more than just like how many credits are in his bank account, you know? And it's so beautiful and touching, you know, the fact that he does that gesture. And then there's the funny things in the movie. You know, the shrug, like Han's shrug is just legendary. It's so great.
It's the it gives me lent for my famous my favorite meme about that, which is the Great Harvest Bread with the lights burned out where it says Great Vest Bro, and it's on just going.
That's right. Yes. So it's like this movie has everything. It has adventure, action, intrigue, you know, the pew pews, romance. You know, it's just, and it has a happy ending. It's the I always say it's the only movie out of all of them that has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like everyone gets what they want. You know.
Yeah.
The bad guys are defeated, the good guys won, and like everyone is set up to have the life that they want to have.
And with a nonstop. Party 24/7 party people Ewok mixer playing on the empty helmets of all the stormtroopers that they're eating.
I was just gonna say they definitely ate those stormtroopers 100%.
And it goes without saying, tastes like chicken.
Definitely, yeah. Charlie, you mentioned memes, and you brought up one of my favorite memes, but like you brought it up in a serious way, but like. I know I'm very close to this moment of like having a kid ask me so many questions that I just roll over and pass away.
Dies.
And just like, I know I'm like this close to that moment. Like Finn picks up new words every day, and I'm like, he's just going to get to there. Yeah.
Why?
No. This is my favorite one is no.
Yeah.
You'll be thrilled when you get to the point where they just contradict anything that you said, even if you're like, poop is brown. Well, no, it's not. Well, the sky is blue. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah. He could be reaching for a bottle, and I'm like, do you want this bottle? I'm like, no.
I
take it from me.
I don't even
yeah,
care.
you did.
I don't even care. I don't even care.
So I'm at that point. I am very close to Yoda. I know I'm like maybe a year away, probably less than to get that bombardment of toddler questions that makes me want to roll over and pass out and join the Force.
Oh, that's great.
So that literally one of my favorite memes because I know I'm so close to that. But yeah, there are some great like meme moments in this, some great like heartfelt moments and everything else. Let's jump into some. I have some questions that I want to ask you guys. Favorite characters. I know you went through your favorite characters from each trilogy, but specific to this movie, any favorite characters or characterizations that we see here?
Oh, Han. 100% Han. Absolutely. I'm with him. Like every time he's on the screen, my heart just like pitter patters. I could watch Return of the Jedi Han all day.
Absolutely. Charlie.
It's a split really between Luke and Vader. The juxtaposition, Vader pulls a 180 in this, or at least in his public persona, or potentially just unlocking what's in his heart, finding the thing in life. And again, for me personally, watching any storyline that relates between fathers and sons, this interaction, the Adama father and son in Battlestar Galactica is the biggest one that comes to mind. Professor Jones Jr. and Sr. in Indiana Jones. Just father and son stuff really speaks to me. And this was one that, for everything that Vader sacrificed for Palpatine and for the promise that Palpatine didn't deliver, which was saving Padme's life. And then, Vader spends the next 25 years just doing whatever that will use my master and this and that. The straw that broke the camel's back is that here is my great master going to fry my son because my son has more balls than I did to stand up to him. And he said, this is the one that's worth dying for. This is the sacrifice to fulfill my destiny, which is to destroy the Sith, which unfortunately he doesn't actually end up doing. Thanks, Rise of Skywalker. So after that long spiel, I think Vader is my favorite character in this film because he does, like the Roxette told us, listen to your heart. And he does. He ultimately lets that drive his boat. And I think that's one of the most satisfying parts of this film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned Luke before you dove a deep dive into Vader. And for me, this one was like, it was that story of Luke. And I loved seeing all of the characters kind of hit that realization point. But for me as a young boy from kind of nowhere watching these movies when I was young, it was always like, okay, this kid kind of came from nowhere, nothing, whatever, and is now this badass Jedi master. And it was kind of that like evolution of seeing what you could become and seeing what you could do to meet the challenge of no matter what it is that's thrown at you, you could kind of do that. You could meet that challenge and exceed that and become a master. Even if, we saw in the last movie that Yoda was saying, like, if you leave now and you go save your friends, you're going to fail. And he didn't. He came back. He kept going. He pushed through, and you can. So Luke's kind of growth in this, and you see where when you look back and see that he started off as a farm boy and come to this one. And I think that's, again, why when I watch that opening scene and it's Luke dressed in black, that badass man in black kind of thing coming down, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is like, not only is it like just cool to watch as like whatever, 10 or whatever, but like now watching it, it's like, this is it. This is where he becomes the legend. Mm-hmm. And this is that first step of becoming more than himself, becoming that, Luke Skywalker's real. I thought he was just a myth. I thought, like, this is it. You're watching that bit happen right now where, Tatooine is like, again, going back to Tatooine, you see like that's where stuff happens, and that's that he planted those seeds for that myth to grow. So yeah, that's for me. It's that. I already talked about my favorite scene in this. Anyone else have a favorite scene? You want to start off like specifically just what's great to you?
Oh, you know what? Like, I have to choose from like 5 or 6. Let's say favorite scene like that I could just watch on a loop over and over and over again is probably Leia rescuing Han. Mm-hmm. Like when she takes him, when she like thaws him out and has him in her arms. Yeah, that's it. Always hits so powerfully.
Mm-hmm. And just that's such a great like. And because you don't really know what to expect. Your first time watching it, like now you watch it and you're just like, oh yeah, she's right. But like the first time watching that scene, you're like, who is this person? They're rescuing Han. Are they rescuing Han?
Yeah.
Is it someone else that's trying to kill Han? Like what's going on? And it's like someone who loves you. What?
Yeah.
Okay. This is so cool. And
it's been pointed out previously how Carrie was like directed to make her body language different in the bounty hunter outfit. Mm-hmm. So it's like when she's coming down the stairs and she hits the wind chimes, you can't necessarily see Princess Leia in her body language, you know? Mm-hmm. Right. So genius.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie.
The 1-2 punch, and again, I talked about it quite a bit in my last bout of blathering, but, you know, watching Anakin pick up Papa Palpatine and give him the chuck is magnificent, but yeah, yeet! But what really follows is, you know, Luke cradling him and then, you know, dragging him to the lip of the lip of the shuttle the shuttle and laying them flat and then popping the mask off and, you know, let me look on you with my own eyes and you know, having that, you know, Father, I won't leave you. I just, being someone who has had a difficult relationship with my dad growing up and a really difficult relationship I had with my 2 sons, that speaks to me in new and different ways as I get older. And I know that that's the way that I feel. You know, my dad recently had a very major back surgery. When I saw him afterwards, he was fine, but I wasn't fine. You know, I wasn't fine. It was the mortality of that that brought me to tears because it was just he and I just went to go visit him because I was in town, and it was challenging for me. So that moment will always be one of, if not the most powerful moment in all of the films for me, because it touches me so personally, which is what great storytelling is supposed to do.
Excellent. That's deeper than I expected you to go, Charlie.
That's what I defying expectations. That is my middle name. Put that on my tombstone. Defying expectations.
I do have to add another one that just popped into my head. Basically seeing your shirt, is when Leia first meets Wicket. And that bit of interaction where you see most of the people on the planet are dismissive, if not aggressive, toward the Ewoks, and she shows that, like, you know, come on over here, come on, like, sit down, I'm not a threat, you know, like, let's handle this diplomatically. You can see that, like, diplomacy, but also respect and she is such the ultimate Jedi, even more than Luke or anyone else, that you see it even when she's not being a Jedi or she hasn't had training. She has that compassion for creatures, and I love that scene, and that's, you know, it's such a instilled way of how I approach any kind of like wildlife or anything that I see, that I'm just like, come on, let's be friends. Come over here. I've got treats. Let's be buds. And we'll help take down an empire sometime. My animal buddies. So that's another one for me. All right. Couple of questions to end this. Overall importance for the Star Wars saga. This is like not just your personal, what do you think the overall importance for this one is in the Star Wars saga? And on a personal note, where does it rank for you? I think we've discussed this pretty heavily so far, but Charlie, I don't think we've discussed it for you. So I want to hear your ranking for this one in your personal favorites.
I mean, I definitely, I do feel like we talked about it, and I kind of flubbed it. If you remember a couple episodes ago, I'm like here, and I talked for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh, that was all incorrect. Let me dial it back. But I'll go with the first one first. This was this movie has kind of been robbed in recent years because it gave us a great definitive ending to the villain that we the true architect of everything, who we saw in just a moment in The Empire Strikes Back, and then fully fleshed out, so to speak, in this film. The cripply old emperor. We thought, this guy, his death muddled things for the Empire. The Empire fractured, and that's how they were ultimately defeated. Well, unfortunately, it didn't, because blah, blah, blah. Force survived and ended up on Exegol and Snoke and yada, 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 sequel trilogy. But for the time, this was, this was the third act of a 3-act play. Evil is defeated somewhat soundly, or at least that's what, as 7-year-old me, who got yanked out of school in the middle of the week so that my mom and I could take us to see this movie. Super awesome parenting, which I totally thumbs up. To this day. But I feel like the significance of this has been kind of peed on, for lack of a better expression, through the efforts of the sequel trilogy and the very controversial events of The Rise of Skywalker. But trying to keep it positive, I think that this was the definitive triumph of good over evil for my little 7-year-old brain, and I found this movie to be highly significant to everything, certainly up to that point.
So, Em, I do want to hear what your position is on the importance of this, but Charlie, I do want to ask you something, because I know you're an MCU fan. I know you're a comic fan. You saying that this movie is kind of made less by the sequels. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on Winter Soldier, because the end of Captain America, the first Avenger, let's just stick with MCU, but okay. I mean, this can go to comics as well. You think Hydra's defeated, they win World War II, Steve sacrifices himself, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is, to me, very similar. So when I watch the sequels, it's a very similar kind of thing. It's like they think they won. Right. They think they're successful, but it shows what a master Sidious is, and it shows how many steps ahead he is, that he's had these contingencies, and it's not, I will admit, not fleshed out enough in the movies, but we've since had it fleshed out in other ways, that he's had these contingencies. That's where Rey's parents come from, blah, blah, blah. But to me, it's a very Hydra-esque move. It's a very Winter Soldier-esque play of, no, we've just been infiltrating things in the background. We've been growing. We've been doing this. We've taken over S.H.I.E.L.D. We're so far in that you have no idea. You can have your celebration, and it can last for, in MCU's world, 70 years, in this world 30 years, but eventually we're going to come back and we're going to show you, like, no, you didn't quite defeat us. So it's, to me, very similar with one of my favorite MCU movies, which is Winter Soldier, and you see that mad play in the background, and to me, so that, like I said, they didn't flesh it out as much, but learning more as we have over the last couple of years since Rise came out, I've got such an appreciation for that play.
It's
not quite for you.
It's weird as a comic fan, and knowing that Hydra never really went away, and the whole Bucky being dead was one of those unbroken comic book deaths until 2006 or 7 when the Winter Soldier story broke. As someone who so deeply rooted in that, I didn't think about it in that way, but you are absolutely correct. that does hit those notes without a doubt. So yeah, I give you that. I will give you that.
Next time you rewatch the saga, you're going to be like, yeah, Winter Soldier. Let's watch that first, and I'll be primed and ready to go.
It's called Arnim Zola is Palpatine. Yeah.
There we go. You got it. M, what are your feelings overall on the importance of this one to the Star Wars saga, the Skywalker story, and I mean, we know where it ranks in your favorites, but if you want to divulge a little bit more of why this is so important.
Yeah, of course. So, well, as to its place in the Skywalker saga, I think it does this thing that is one of the things that has contributed to the longevity of the Star Wars franchise, which is that it not only ties up loose ends in a satisfying way, but it also clears the path for new stories. It becomes so evident to us that there's a lot more to being a Jedi. It piques us to have this interest in what's Luke going to do next. This is the closing of one emotional journey for him, but he obviously has so much more there's so much more that he's capable of, and there's so much more that he's going to do. And I think that sort of implied possibility, as the story ends, that is what hooks people. Everyone wants a good story, right? So when you have a little taste that there could be more, that's gonna live inside of your brain. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just the perfect ending to that particular arc. And I loved that it was the redemption story of Darth Vader. It was there was this battle for his soul, and Luke won.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I love telling people, if they haven't seen, a couple of summers ago, I had someone that had never seen Star Wars, and they asked me what my order to watch. And that's why I recommend watching the prequels after Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you watch Empire, you find out
right.
I'm your father.
Yep.
It's how?
It's machete order.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you watch those prequels and you find out, but then you immediately watch Return and you see that redemption finished. And it's such a perfect kind of how the hell did he get this way? Oh, here's how he got that way. Bam, redemption. It is my favorite way to watch that story because of how that redemption hits.
1, 2, 3, 6. Yes.
Yeah. 4, Rogue One.
Oh, right.
5, 1, 2, 3, 6.
Rogue One, 4. 5.
Depends. I like starting with the original. I like starting with A New Hope and then watching Rogue One. Because I'm broken, Charlie.
Okay.
I'm broken.
But yeah, and I mean, it's so great. Broken. It's so great to see the journey that Anakin takes too. It's because in the end, he's so relatable, because in the end, he just, everyone, he wants love and belonging, and his story through the prequels is a story of abandonment and of having to walk away from things that he loved and from things that were important to him, and of trying to place duty above the heart. And that's never going to work. That doesn't work for anybody. Everybody has emotional needs, and there's almost nobody in this world that can neglect, the yearnings of their heart for that long, especially in the name of a cause that they didn't even he didn't even sign up for this, some rando showed up and told him he was a powerful Force user, and now this is his responsibility. Right. And it's it's not even he was sort of recruited or indoctrinated into the cause, and
you said walk away, but it's more like he was torn away.
He was torn away. It's true. Yeah, you're right. It's true. It's true. A lot of it was not done. A lot of it was done under duress. This is true. But even symbolic abandonments, Yoda not listening to him. It is so clear to me watching the prequels that Yoda never engaged with Anakin on an emotional level, and he was not equipped to be an advisor to Anakin because he did not acknowledge or speak to that part of he never spoke to Anakin's heart. He was always trying to deal with him like with his Jedi mind. You know, he was trying to be sort of like a living Jedi text, and he very seldom spoke to Anakin about emotions. And that was like one of his great failures of guidance in Anakin, you know? And so, you know, but then Luke shows up, and one of the things that I talked about when I talked about this, you know, the final minutes of Return of the Jedi on Podcast of the Wills, like the canon studies of Nick, was I talked about how the difference between what the Emperor is saying and what Luke is doing in front of Vader. Because if you truly want to touch people and you want them to change their ways, the best way to do that is to lead by example. So it's Luke who's saying, like, I will not fight you. Luke is trying to be nonviolent. Luke is trying to and even when he does engage in a fight with Vader, it's because the name of Leia has been evoked, you know, and it's protectiveness for his sister. So it's like, even when he does fight, it's out of love. You know, he is the embodiment of somebody who is living out the principles of like love, connection, and belonging. And that is the thing that Anakin has been longing for his entire life. So now he's finally seeing this shining example of what he's been wanting this whole time. So, you know, how could he not change his mind? You know, because what Palpatine is trying to do is he's trying to lay down a narrative. You know, when you try to lay down a narrative and you try to tell people like, oh, this is how it is, and you give them like facts, you're not going to change their mind. People don't change their mind based on being talked at. People change their mind based on witnessing someone who, like, witnessing a different example, witnessing something like a change of mind, a change of life, a different perspective, you know, and that's what Luke presents to Vader in that moment. And so that's what leads him to his redemption.
Well, for sure.
See, this is kind of deep dive I love.
It's good.
I could listen to you talk about Star Wars literally all day.
The shovel is in motion. It's digging. Can you dig it?
Amazing.
Oh my.
Sadly, we can't keep going all day.
That's
because
fine.
eventually we have to sleep. And so I think we will end it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a wonderful time.
Pleasure. Not only to have you on the show, but to have you on specifically for this episode, for a movie we both love so much, and it's been a delight. So please tell people where they can find you online, and once again, thank you.
Oh, thank you again. I've had a wonderful time. Thank you so much. Both of you have been so gracious, and it's just been wonderful. I've had a wonderful evening. So you can find me on Twitter at Hutsleia, HUTTSLEIA. Ship who you want. All ships are valid. Also, you can find the live stream every Friday night at 9:30 Eastern time on YouTube. You can find us at youtube.com/c/Pink Milk Podcast. Or you can find us on Twitter at Serving Pink Milk.
Woo. My goodness. And I can be found, as always, on Twitter at the C3. Spell it on out. When I'm not warsing it up, I'm trekking it up. As I had mentioned, the wife and I run the West Michigan chapter of the Starfleet International Fan Club chapter of the USS Grand Petoskey.
Are you a Star Trek fan too?
I love everything. I do.
Okay.
I'm a casual fan of Star Trek.
All right.
I'm a fan of Star Trek the way that Tom is a fan of Star Wars.
Got it. All right. Okay, good.
So,
sorry to interrupt you, Charlie. I just saw like the little like hand raising thing, and I was like, oh no, 2 Trekkies?
It did not escape my attention. USS Grand Petoskey can be found at that website and on all socials. Trekkers of the World, we want to hear from you. And that's it for me.
Perfect. You can find me at pretty much, I think, like Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, pretty much everywhere as _Canardian. And I forgot to mention, I smell like a Jedi today. I got some Dr. Squatch soaps, the Star Wars special. You can see it behind me, the special case that they come in. Right now, I currently smell like ObiWan Kenobi, apparently. So,
so like
it's fun stuff.
Sand?
Like an old man that lives in the desert? What?
Yeah, definitely like an old man that lives in the desert.
Haven't bathed in 20 years.
The funniest thing about this soap, if you haven't seen it, there's two, there's like one pack, but like it's Obi-Wan and Yoda. I can't wait to smell like a ketamine dyslexic frog ninja. That's going to be a fun month. But the Darth Vader soap is extra gritty. And I'm like, did they put sand in the Darth Vader soap? Because that is just fucking mean.
That's just mean.
But that's, yeah, anyway. Sorry, Dr. Squatch. They haven't like sponsored this show, but I was like, Star Wars soap, sign me up, because I have money and a credit card and zero impulse control.
Dr. Squatch, you're on notice.
There we go. So yeah, anyway, that's where you can find me, smelling like ObiWan Kenobi and hanging out on the internet.
Yes, the internet, when the internet becomes smell-o-vision. Friends, thank you for joining us. I would tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the Force be with you. Rex, play us out. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.